What is going on, Predators? It's Travis here and Dean from Apex Predator Outdoors. Today we are going to do just a little chat about some of our gear, and specifically today we're looking at some broadheads that we're going to be using in the 2022 seasons, I should say. We got turkey coming up here, spring turkey. We've got deer in the fall. We've got a lot of different choices of broadheads that we can use, and some that we've used in the past. I'm just going to want to share that information, what we've used, things like that. So I'm mobile. I'm on the run right now in a hotel room. So if we have some connection issues, apologize in advance. But we're still going to be recording this, and we'll upload it. We'll see it as soon as it's done on YouTube. So with that being said, I want to introduce yourself. Say what's up, man.
What's up, Predators? I hope you all had a good week. I'm excited about getting after it this week and diving into some archery stuff and hope everybody enjoyed the last two episodes. We got some good feedback, and still looking for a name for the podcast, and throwing a bunch of stuff out there to Travis and getting into the weeds with different things. We thought about broadheads and blood trails and freezer fillers and whatever. So chime in and help us out a little bit.
Hell yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
So as we're getting into it, like I say, we'll kind of go over I don't know how we're going to run this, just to start with the history of what we've done for broadheads or something like that. But I wanted to thank the guys at Tooth of the Arrow. They actually sent me an email. They wanted to get together, and they wanted me to do reviews of their broadheads, and they said, hey, get out and see which ones you like and bring them up here. So it's kind of unofficially sponsored by Tooth of the Arrow. So I ended up choosing the S series. These are the XL size, so it's a total of 4 inches of cut. So that means either size, length of the blade there, it's going to be a 1-inch cut. So solid broadheads. That's where the S series comes in. These things are pretty mean looking, but hopefully they fly straight. We'll be testing them out soon enough on the channel here, so stay tuned for that, guys. And yeah, so did you get your broadheads in from them, Dean?
I did. I got the same. I did the S series, the 3 1/16, and it was interesting. Actually, one of the cool things I'll kind of show everybody that it comes with is that actually they send you your inserter, so your broadhead fits right inside of there, which I thought was kind of cool when you screw it in your arrow. So yeah, nice little Chotsky from them. I thought that was nice. And I'm looking forward to sending a few downrange myself. They're pretty unique. I like the fact that they're 100% American made. Always got to shout out for that. And it's all one piece. I think that's pretty cool. Machined out of one, like I said, one piece of steel, and that 45-degree angle. And the other thing that I picked up from them, obviously haven't had a chance to use it yet, is their sharpener. I don't know that I'd be able to take it in the field because it's, I don't know, 6 inches long or whatever. But supposedly that thing is money. And so that's going to be kind of neat to test out. And then the last thing I would say about them, I was kind of looking at their site, and it says that it's pretty ideal for 50 yards and in, which I appreciate the fact that they put that on there, right? So I'm not going to launch something at 70 yards. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to launch something at 70, but just knowing that they kind of throw that out there, like keep your shots 50 and in, it's be perfect for deer and pigs and whatever else from a stand or a blind. Hey, it looks like Travis's internet's flopping in and out. Are you back on there, buddy? No. So the other one I wanted to kind of show you that is also unique is it's the HME small game. If y'all can see that, dude. And what it does is it's got these little talons on them, and with a blunt front. So it essentially is a blunt for head. I take one of these when I go out to on an elk hunt or any sheep hunt or something like that. More for just as a backup. If you run out of food, you need to bag a squirrel or a rabbit or something. You got this kind of in your quiver, and that it's just a security blanket for me to have it. Some other guys they use it to practice. They call it stump shooting. Not sure the
Right.
idea behind that, but um, I'd hate to ruin them. So I'm not sure why they would shoot trees with them outside of just practicing. I don't know if Travis has done that. He's done some weird shit, so maybe he's out shooting tree stumps with his broadheads too. I have no idea, but that was another one. It just kind of one of those things. Like I said, you're able to just pick them up. They're cheap. They're like $10 for 3 of them. Throw them in your pack. Worst case scenario, you run out of food, get trapped up, and you gotta bag something small. You got one there, and you can get you a rabbit for some food or a squirrel or something while you're out.
I've got some of those too. I've got the I can't remember who makes these, but basically, a little small game head here. Basically, it's just got a kind of a hammer head there. It's almost kind of like causes a concussion death, kind of like a bullet, so it causes bleeding and stuff like that internally that makes them die really quick. And then it's got those little fingers on it there. I guess you call those wire fingers that keep it from like burying itself in the ground. So yeah, I've got a few of those that I carry with me in the toolbox as well, pretty much all the time.
Yeah. And I don't know, one of the other things I've not gone down the rabbit hole with that I can appreciate guys that do. Do you really pay attention to, what your broadhead steel is made of? Is that important to you, or are you kind of 6'1", half a dozen of the other guy?
So it's like something I think it's pretty important to know what your broadheads are made out of, or at least, I think you need to check out the Rockwell hardness of it to see, how dense it is, because that's really going to be a pretty decent indicator of what it can put up with, at least on a solid broadhead. It's something that you want to make sure that or at least that can at least, like I say, the hardness of it by, judging that Rockwell hardness factor. But I don't know all of my broadheads and what they're made out of, but I know ones that I usually stay away from are ones that are like made out of aluminum ferrules and stuff like that. I just kind of stay way away from those. Like for me, like personally, I don't think anything in the broadhead should be made out of aluminum, because it instantly it makes it a weaker point. And there's some really hard aluminums out there, don't get me wrong, but I personally lean on the side of something that I can shoot over and over, like these. These are the Crafted Archery Arrow 1. I've got a lot of these. I've also shot the Grizzly stick. I think these are the red line or silver. I can't remember what it is, broadheads, but these are ones that, like, actually I think the ferrule is made out of some kind of hard aluminum, but this is a one and done kind of thing. Anything that's made with an aluminum, it's like I'm going to shoot it and I'm just going to let it go. Like I'm never going to sharpen it or try to use it again. Like I just kind of consider it, other than a target, just a one-time use kind of thing.
And I think that's kind of what we were talking about the other day with those muzzies. I think 2 episodes ago, whatever. This is a brand new one that has not been shot. And I'll grab the other one, but literally these all broke off after it went through that pig, and so I just had one wing left, and that was it. So to your point, there you do get what you pay for. I understand that, but as I think, once I'm doing a big game hunt or something that matters, not a pig, whatever, but something that matters, like an elk, your big stags, or I'm using that $high arrow. It is what it is.
Water buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. Like I'm not going to take a chance of it not penetrating or taking it ethically. So that's kind of where I sit. And I'm also not a big fan of mechanicals, and not that I've not had any personally fail. I think it's just in my head that what if factor, and I just don't I just don't want to go down that road. But I understand the concept of, the flight and whatever, but that's just not I'm not buying into that.
And I think I get it. Some guys want to buy mechanicals, and I've got a couple of them here. I've got the some that I've shot over the years. Actually, I take that back. Some of these I've never shot because I shot them once, and I'm like, I'm not going back to that. But so one, I got the Rage here, right? And the reason a lot of guys go with mechanicals is because that is a mean ass looking cut right there. That is going to do some bloodletting and everything here. But I think whenever you're looking at something like this, as thin as these blades are, they're like razor thin. The one thing that you're going to have to look at is the durability is going to go way down. So you have to worry about hitting bone and things like that. You have to worry about, what's going to happen to that blade. If I hit ribs, if this fully deploys and I hit ribs on the way in, especially with a higher pounded bow where you're shooting like, 75, 80, 85 pounds, when that hits that animal, it hits that rib. Is it just going to shear off those blades? Is it going to be enough force to shear those off? And that's something you have to think about. If I hit a shoulder, is it just going to, and then, once that blade is gone, what's happening to your arrow flight,
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really worry about with mechanicals. And there's some that are built better than others. Like this is some of the first broadheads I used. It's the Nap Double Cross. And these are even meaner looking than the Rage because they've got a pretty nice chisel tip on there. But then they've got, like I say, the blades, they don't have any fancy mechanics. They just literally the pressure keeps them open. Blades are about 3 times as thick as the Rage, and it's got bleeder blades on it. But even then, like I would still honestly feel comfortable probably shooting these today. But on like a whitetail or like you're saying, like on a hog or something like that. But it's going to be a one and done kind of thing. If I shoot this at an animal, in fact, I think I actually did with this one. But if I shoot that at an animal and if I miss or I hit, doesn't matter. I'm not going to ever shoot that broadhead again.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny too when we was kind of talking about the one and done, or even going with the higher end like the Iron Wills, or I guess Day 6 could kind of maybe fall in that category, but definitely Grizzly is in that category where you drop that kind of money. And we went on that ram hunt with our buddy that took that Corsican, and it was a great shot. But one thing that just kind of made him sick is we couldn't find his arrow. And so he's like, man, that's a high dollar arrow that's been lost. And so, you're literally launching money downrange. So kind of keep that in mind when, you're choosing what you want to use for what you're going after. And does that outweigh possibly not recovering the arrow and your broadhead? So along that line,
it's one of those balancing acts.
Yeah, it is a balancing act.
So for like thinking about like tag and stuff, it's like we usually buy like 2 sets of arrows. We'll have like our hunting arrows, or we'll have unless you're stupid like me and you'll use your hunting arrows for tagging because that's what you've got. But it's the same thing with like going out, depending on what you're hunting. Like I would almost feel better sometimes having a really cheap hunting arrow that I know I could launch at like some whitetail somewhere. I'm like, where I'm at shooting an 85-pound bow, I really do it not necessarily for to get more and more penetration, as far as like I'm just at the point of about 70, 75 pounds on a whitetail. Like penetration, you're just going to blow through it with just about anything,
Mm-hmm.
But whenever it comes to shooting like a hog or shooting like an elk, something that's a lot more dense and you need more momentum and to get through there, that's where I'm going to go and use my, specialty hunting arrows that I've gone through all that process and know that they're super, super, super straight. And so if I can shoot it out to 75 yards and be confident in that shot, I'd rather do that. But for a whitetail, like I said, using honestly, you get to the point where you could almost use just like called the Walmart special, like some of those, I forgot who makes those like blackout arrows they sell at Walmart. Honestly, that will do for most whitetail hunting,
Well, especially here in Texas too. The deer aren't big, so, if you're again in that 18, 20 yard range, unless you just botched a shot, literally botched a shot, I think you're right. I think you're gonna be fine, you know. But obviously it's shot placement too, right? I don't know. You mean, do you think even the ones at Walmart, if you hit a shoulder, it's gonna penetrate? And this damn dog, man, we're watching my daughter's dog. It's like she's a weirdo, man. I don't get her.
It's that new dog. You give him the new dog yet?
It's apparently it's a new dog smell, man. Like she just wants to be in part of everything. But anyway, that being said, I mean, you would use, just a generic broadhead if you're going to be just small whitetail hunting. Like I said, Texas deer aren't that big unless you're going to a game ranch where they've bred them and have got fantastic genetics. I probably wouldn't. Again, I'm always gonna fall back on something that I know is tried and true and I've used and I've got faith in it. And I think that's just me personally. I just want to know that it's gonna penetrate and I don't have to worry about it once I let that shot go.
Yeah. So we got a comment that says that's actually from my wife. She's watching. She said she commented. She said freezer fillers. She likes that
nice.
one.
I think that's a great name, man. Like, it just sounds good. It rolls off the tongue and it's legit, kind of covers all of our bases, man.
Freezer Filler Podcast. I like it.
Filler Freezer Podcast, man. F and F. So back on
So some of the other things I've used, like I say, I have a whole little tub here full of like broadheads and field tips and everything. And some I've had the good old, I think this is what you had, or when you shot that pig, was the Muzzy MX3 or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You said you had the 4-blade though, right?
I had the 4-blade. Yeah. And it works. Okay. I mean, you like I said, you saw it. It hammered it, but it broke the blades, and it is what it is. But the other two that I have.
Let's see here. I got
the other two that I've got are the Day 6 and the Iron Will, and they're very similar in design. This is, if y'all can see that is the Day 6 with the bleeders. And by the way, all of mine are 100 grain broadheads. I'm sorry, this is the Iron Will. And the Day 6 one is very similar in design. So as the bleeders, they're not single beveled. Both of mine are double bevel. I have not shot any single beveled broadheads yet, but I've talked to some guys that do shoot those, and if you watch some of the videos, kind of going back to Ranch Fairy, that penetration on bone is pretty substantial, and so I will probably get some of those and try those as well. I don't know if I'll use them this fall during elk season or not, but I am going to eventually pick some of those up because I would like to see that, because again, the stuff that's on YouTube and the impact they have on bone and breaking through bone is pretty solid. Have you had any experience with single beveled broadheads at all? Have you tested any of that stuff?
Yeah, so like I say, these Crafted Archery Arrow 1, they've got a single bevel all the way around here. This is one that I've gotten pretty chewed up. I shot this through the pig, and I've shot it in targets, and I shot it through a cow bone that I had, a cow rib bone that I bought at the store. And you can see it's a little worse for wear. It's got a little chip in it right there, or a rolled edge. But overall, this thing is still in really good shape. And I think with a little bit of work, I could easily make it out. I would just have to make sure or clean it up and everything, but I just have to make sure that it's still the right weight whenever I do that. Mm-hmm. But these have been amazing broadheads, and cutting diameter and everything. But these are really good. They're super sharp, even out of the package. I always still take even some of the best broadheads. I'll take them and I'll run them over a piece of sandpaper or something to kind of make sure that they're really just razor blade sharp. But those have been really great, and that was the one which still almost a year later working on getting the footage together to post a video. But those are the ones where I shot it and actually came through a pig skull from the rear behind the ribs and came right out of the front of the head. So those are amazing single bevel broadheads there. I've tried go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you kind of bounced off for a second with technical difficulties. If you wouldn't mind throwing in also, I was just telling the guys and ladies, if they're watching, that all of my broadheads are 100 grain. I've not kind of gone out of that. My Cirrus Apollos shot best with 125 grain, but I've not tinkered to my broadheads. I've been pretty true to always staying at 100. Have you played with any of yours? Are you pretty much a specific grain guy?
So yeah, actually these right here, the Rages, these are 100 grain. The Spitfire, the Nap Spitfire Double Cross are 100 grain. But pretty much, actually the Muzzies I had were 100 grain as well. But then whenever I went to the Shuttle T-Lock from Trophy Taker, that's whenever I switched to 125 grain. At the same time, I bought these right here. These are the Trophy Taker ATAC. These are the ones I just took that goat with, which guys, you'll be seeing more video about that coming soon. But yeah, basically, whenever I switched to these, that's whenever I started going with 125 grain. And I've kind of just, from this point on, kind of just gone with that because I feel like putting the weight at the tip, I think it makes, increases your FOC even more, than because that's like the furthest point out of the arrow there. So it's like if you put more weight there, that you can actually don't have to worry about buying real heavy inserts, even though I do. By heavy insert, but then I also put more tip weight up front. I think for me, 125 grains was kind of like the limit that I wanted to go because the higher you go in weight of broadhead, the smaller your options are.
Yeah.
I think 125 grains are kind of a happy medium there.
Yeah, and speaking of that too, I had a couple questions on the Go Hunt app. If nobody's on that, you need to jump on it. It's like Facebook for hunters. It's a great platform to know people, show off your trophies, and get some good feedback. So one thing I was going to ask you about, because I know you have a lot more experience in this than I do. One of the guys on there was talking about his fletchings, and I typically will run, depending on where I'm at. If I know it's going to be more windy, I'm probably going to do a 3 fletch. If it's relatively calm, I run a 4, but I don't necessarily have a preference one over the other. My triax with my arrow setup, the 4 fletch, it just seems to like it better. And I kind of told him a little bit about the easy veins, and I went and ordered some. I'm still waiting for them to come in because I really want to try some of those after you kind of showed me that and how you can change your offset and your helical. Could you kind of touch base a little bit on that too? Because I think that was like really good information that people probably don't know about. Before you start gluing stuff on, you could just slide these in play.
Yeah, so I did a video about this a little while back. I was kind of doing a lot of research on it myself too, because I always want to find the best thing or the best way to do something on my gear, and that was one thing I was looking into in the fletches, and there's a lot of it that's kind of like just based in like theory and like, well, I've seen this and I've seen that. And so I kind of have to, bundle those two things together and kind of like think about the theory and the practical application of what I've seen. And for me, pretty consistently, the 4 fletch seemed to work a little bit better for me whenever it comes to fletching my arrows. I like personally a much lower profile, longer 4 fletch. And I think you can, with the longer vein, you can actually get a much more effective helical on the arrow there, because you can make that longer. And then whenever you get it lower profile, I think it's a little bit less affected by side wind, because you think whenever you're talking about a side wind, you're really just looking at the profile of the vein, how high does it stick up and things like that. With a 3-fletch, as it rotates, again, I did a really great video about this. Wish I could put it on right now, but with the 3-fletch, basically there's a little bit of a point where, as it rotates, where it's a little bit shorter and then it gets a little bit taller again. So it's kind of like growing and shrinking in size from that profile. And so I feel like, for me, for like wind drift, whenever you create kind of an oscillation like that, I feel like it's going to create a little bit more erratic flight of the arrow, versus whenever you have a 4-fletch, no matter how you rotate it, it's going to be the same height in that profile all the time. So I had a chance to test this out a little bit. I was at my dad's ranch, where we went out there hunting for spike bucks, and there was about a 30 mile. It gets really windy. That's it. Yeah, there you go. He looked like a doe, man.
He did look like a doe. It's in transition.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all fair game still.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so the wind out there gets like really crazy sometimes in the open flat area at the bottom of the hill. And it was about a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and I was shooting 45 yards from like the porch of the house there, off to this tree where I set up the target and everything. I shot my arrow, and I swear I got it on camera, but it was basically, the arrow was kicked at about a 45-degree angle as it flew towards the target, and it still hit the target, because of that strong crosswind, but it still hit the target, and then it went into the target about 6 inches, even though it was flying at that angle. But what was really awesome about it, and I don't know if this is exactly a function of the vanes or if it's a function of the weight of the broadhead, the FOC. I think it's a little bit of both, but this is really where FOC comes into importance. Is that that arrow with the field tip, it still hit exactly where I was aiming, even though the arrow was flying sideways down there because of that strong crosswind. And I think it was partially due because that heavy front of center there, that it's actually guiding the rest of the arrow, and then the vanes are just kind of creating the drag that's stabilizing it. So I don't know for sure, but like I said, I feel like in that situation, any variation, like having a 3-fletch where it's going to be, a little bit taller and a little bit shorter as it rotates, I feel like it would have kind of created kind of a cyclical motion of it, which would kind of make the tip of the arrow steer a little bit more off target, because you can't turn one end of it without really severely affecting the front of it. So if it's constantly doing this, then the front of your arrow is going to be doing this a little, kind of a circular motion a little bit more as well. I don't know, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I love a 4-fletch. I think it just flies better. It doesn't have a whole, or you can, like I said, get it in different helicals to change how much influence it has on the arrow. But that's kind of what I've been doing. And like I said, with the easy vanes, I've just loved it because I can tinker to my heart's content. I don't have to sit there, and I can literally just, while I'm testing it, I can slide it on there, shoot a few times. I'm like, oh, let's see, that'll work pretty good. Let me try a different one. Go slide a new set of fletchings on there, or a different helical, and then shoot that. And then whenever I finally find the one that I like, then I can slide it on there with just a little tiny bit of glue. I don't have to glue the whole vein on there. A little tiny bit of glue, and then it's good to go, So I've been so excited about those things, because it allows me to tinker to my heart's content with the fletchings and the steering of the arrow.
Well, and I think too, one of the other things that was neat was there was enough. It seemed to be enough play that you don't have to necessarily change the whole thing out. You can almost rotate it to give it a different helical before you finally finish it.
And so that's something I've actually been meaning to talk to Brendan, one of the owners of Easy Vanes, about, because it's something I kind of just figured out on accident. So my original arrows were a 300 spine Victory VAT TKO. And then I ended up changing over to a 235 spine whenever I got this 85-pound bow. And whenever I did that, it's got a different outside diameter because it's a different, thickness of arrow shaft there. And so whenever I slid the vanes, I accidentally ordered the 300s, and then after I'd ordered the vanes for the 300s, and then whenever I decided to make that change, I didn't order any new vanes. So I was like, let me just see if they fit. And sure enough, they fit, but it's a real tight fit. And so what it allows me to do is I can twist the vane on there, and I can actually kind of create a variable helical on that. And that way I can kind of tune it. I can put it like, a straight, shoot it, see how it flies. Next one, I can tune it at about 3 degrees, shoot it, go over to like all the way to like a 6 degree, shoot it, and see what I like best. And again, once I get it and the way I like it, I can just put a little bit.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to convey on Go Hunt was to get order some of those, and it just gives you the ability to play with it. And then if you decide to go ahead with normal vanes, you can throw your wrap on, and then use your Arizona Fletch or your Tough Goat or Goat Tough fletching device, and then go with more of a permanent situation if that's the way you wanted to roll with it. So
sorry about all the connection issues, guys. We're like trying to run this. I don't know what's going on with the hotel Wi-Fi here, but it's awful.
It happens. You know what? And that's what's cool thing about having the live show, man. You just got to kind of roll with it.
There you go, man. F it, we'll do it live.
Exactly.
Real quick, I want to run through a couple of these comments here.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's up, WC? Garner said, "What's up?" Let's see. I like Dan. Let's see. The Okie Sooner said, "I like running the Blackout Hunter X3 300 spine with a 31-inch gold tip, 100 grain brass insert, 100 grain weight, 5 grain broadheads." Yeah, well, it drops whitetail and hogs, but he says I don't shoot over 50 yards. So yeah, I mean seems like you have a pretty nice 31-inch too. That's a long arrow, man. But yeah, that'll drop them quick, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see,
WC Garner. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, yeah, I think when you're reading those, I think one of the things a lot of people are talking about is they get kind of wound up in speed and arrow weight and all that. And I think I'm kind of in the middle of the road when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, would I want something a little bit faster? Yeah, but like we talked about before, I'm limited by my draw. I mean, it is what it is, and my bow poundage, it is what it is. So I think I've just kind of narrowed it down to where I want to find that perfect setup for me that I get the best, most consistent trajectory every time, and then let the speed and all the other stuff kind of fall, by the wayside, and that's kind of where I'm at in my archery journey, if you want that.
Yeah, it's like I say, I feel kind of the same way. It's like it's kind of been weird for me. Like I say, getting this bow that shoots at 85 pounds now. It's like I hadn't run it through the chrono yet because I'm still trying to figure out which arrow I want to use. But it's been kind of weird because it's like I've kind of redefined that whole balance in my head. Because I mean, at 85 pounds, if I could get an arrow that's 350 grains, I mean, I feel like I could shoot that at almost anything, and it's got so much velocity, that it's going to have more kinetic energy. I mean, I still want something that's not going to just bleed off arrow speed because it's so light, at a further distance. And so, contrary to what a lot of people think, instead of going with a lighter arrow for shooting further distances for hunting, you'd almost want to go with a heavier arrow, right? Because then it'll keep that momentum over long distances where it won't lose as much speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a weird dynamic now because I'm like, I can kind of shoot just about anything nowadays, but do I still stick with a heavy arrow, or do I, just go with the overkill and get like a 550, 600 grain arrow and launch it at, 330 feet or 320 feet per second? Or do I slow it down and go with something that's, 400 grains, 450 grains, and, make it go even faster. I don't know. I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, I don't know that. It's one of those. I don't know that there's a right answer to some of that stuff. What's that sweet? That sweet spot is what 480. I think and one. What is it? Greater than 15 FOC or whatever it is up front. And
Yeah.
again, it's kind of like, again, talking to other people. I'm like, you just got to find out what your bow likes, and it is what it is. And the other thing that was, it's a big deal, is I also kind of go into it thinking, do I even worry about going with 75 pounds, 80-pound draw, right? I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I want to know that when it's time to take that animal, that I can draw and hold for however many minutes it may take, hopefully not minutes, but in that situation, I can hold it, be comfortable, whether I'm cold, exhausted, whatever elements are thrown at me, and I don't have to worry about it. And I think, you start getting 80 pounds, like you're 80, 85 pounds for me, it's going to be, if I'm pulling it, I'm launching it, because I'm not gonna be able to hold it, for as the animal's moving around or whatever's going on. And so I think that's kind of where I'm coming from with my setup, is I want to know I can do everything for a longer period of time and have perfect trajectory when it's go time.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like I say, with the bow I got, I was like, one thing I've noticed with my old bow is set to 70 pounds. There was I think it was like 72 with how it was tuned and everything. But I noticed I think it had an 85% let off. And for me, that was just way too much, because once I got to full draw and everything back there, I noticed I wasn't nearly as stable with the bow. And so it's like I tested it out before it at 80% let off, and it felt better. And actually, at one point in time, I had something wrong. I'd gone to a bow shop and something was set wrong on one of my cams. And so I had like a 60% let off. But I remember I was like, I would get tired a lot quicker with that, because it was like I was holding, so much more weight. But I noticed I was way more stable with it. So whenever I was actually aiming, my pin was like not going anywhere. And it was actually pretty awesome, So whenever I built this bow, that was one thing I was considering. I was like, do I do 85% let off, or do I do 80% let off? Those are the two options. And I ended up going with 80, because I feel like, I like that heavier holding weight. And I think that's another thing to look at too, is if you can make it through that draw cycle at like an 80-pound bow, you're still, whenever you come to the hold, you're only holding like, 20 pounds or not even 20 pounds, like 15 pounds, 18 pounds, something like that, depending on if you go 85% or 80% let off. So, but like I said, and the way that bows are made nowadays, like I think some of these newer bows, like this past year, the 2022 bows, like they draw so smooth. Like all the guys were shocked. They didn't believe it whenever we put my bow on there, and it came out 85 pounds, because it's supposed to be just 80, but the way it's tuned up is 85. And everybody was really shocked that it came out, because like it doesn't. They drew it back and shot it. Like that doesn't. There's no way that's 85 pounds. It just doesn't feel like it.
Wow.
So that's what you want, right? Is I think. Because I think whenever you go up in the weight like that, you go up in speed, you go up in momentum, and you just become more lethal. But then again, you can be plenty lethal at a 20-inch draw, sorry, 28-inch draw. If you're using like a 550 or 600 grain arrow, again, you just kind of have to limit your distance there. And that was kind of just, I was thinking about, I was like, I like using the heavy arrows, because I like to be sure that if I hit a shoulder or something, I don't want to just like stick in it like a dart in a dartboard. I want to break that shoulder and go through it and hit all the organs behind it, And it's probably a little overkill especially for what a lot of what I hunt, but I'd rather have overkill than underkill. So
I agree. And I'm not opposed to tracking, but if I can track them less far, that's awesome. So
absolutely.
I'm into that, and the other thing, kind of talking about the draw weight, people need to realize is that once you get past that valley, when you're talking about 80, 85%, 90% let off, if you can go with a lesser let off, that also will help your bow speed, because it's it's not using that energy to get past that and let that go. So it's kind of a thought to ponder. You know, if you can do it at 80, do it at 80, right? Don't just go 90 just because it's easier to hold. That you're going to lose a little bit of speed with that if you're worried about that portion of it. So
Dan, the Okie Sooner comment, he said, what would you recommend feathers for fletching? Maybe quiet down the arrow a little. Or he's saying, would you recommend feathers to make it quieter, I'm guessing, or feathers or fletching? Yes, there's actually still a lot of guys that use feathers out there. Those are kind of the guys that have been, I guess, they'll put it in a long time. I still know several guys that do feathers on their even shooting a compound bow. Feathers have some distinct advantages, but they do have some disadvantages too. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on this, but like I say, I think they are a little bit louder at times because there's a bunch of individual pieces of that feather and it can catch more wind. The wind can kind of pass through them a little bit too, which can cause some kind of whooshing sound there. The great thing about feathers, though, is that they slick back real easy and they're pretty durable for the most part. If it has to go backwards through a target, you're never going to, you instantly got to replace those. There's no way they're surviving it. But if they get a complete pass through on an animal, there is a chance that they could survive that. But I think that's the biggest point with feathers. I think is the weakest point is just they're not very durable. You will be replacing them quite a bit. And that's where fletchings have come in and they've kind of done the same job that feathers have done, but they do it and they can, bounce back. Like the Easy Veins, when I was first testing those, the first generation of them, I shot it through a target 12 times, and they still looked almost brand new whenever I pulled them out of the target on that 12th shot. So, have you ever shot anything with feathers? Have you done any trad shooting, Dean?
I haven't. I want to, but I have not. The guys at the archery challenge.
I've got a trad bow, but it's only like 30 pounds, so
it's I think it'd be fun to do. Just at some point, I will try it for sure. I just haven't taken that step yet. But when you brought the point about the sound, that again is kind of a personal choice. I choose not to shoot vented broadheads for that very reason, because of the sound. I prefer a solid, broadhead. Especially when you're trying to shoot, axis deer. They're so skittish anyway that they hear it come in, dude. They're done. They're out of there.
They're gone.
So, gone. Yeah, they're gone before you release them.
Yeah, and you don't get too many chances to get too close to them either. So you need to send it a little more than 15 yards away most of the time.
And aim lower than what you think. Because they will.
So I had an interesting story with that. Is I was shooting 420 grain Victory Vaps. I think it was literally. I think this was in 2018. I think it was like right before or right after one of the very first videos I did on this channel, and I was shooting those, and they were light. I think they're like 420 grains. I was shooting them out of a 70-pound bow. I had I think I was shooting the Muzzies that season, the MX3s. But I shot at this deer as a whitetail, Central Texas whitetail, and they're like skittish and they fly like rabbits, man. But I shot, and I swear to God, I saw this deer at 29 or 32 yards. I can't remember which one it was when I took the shot. But I saw the deer literally completely hit the ground. Dust flew up, and the arrow went right over its back. I mean, if it would have gone straight there and the deer wouldn't have moved, it would have been like right in the heart, right in the boiler. But no, it dropped, and it was complete at 30 yards. I was able to duck underneath an arrow. So there's something to be said about speed of an arrow as well. It's like the weight is great, compensating for their drop. But there is something to be said about speed for a good part of it.
Yeah, and I think
losing signal here. So let's see real quick to say what's up. Beyond the Woodlands, Ben. What's up? Let's see, Dan, hydrogen peroxide, a spray bottle helps fill in smaller blood drops, foams up. That's good advice, man. Yeah, no problem, bud. Looks like Dean, lost Dean there. Yeah, it's been a struggle with the terrible internet. Sorry, guys. But so yeah, real quick, I'll just kind of run you guys that are still here through my process that I've gone through. Again, I started early on. I started shooting with the Rage broadheads here. Again, I got these 100 grain. So I started with these. I shot it maybe once or twice. Didn't have any trouble with whitetails or anything like that. But again, like I said, these flimsy little blades on there, really what worried me more than anything. Then I got, like I say, up to these here. The blade's a little bit thicker there. Not a whole lot, but about twice the thickness. So, like I said, these are the Knapp Spitfire double cross. These are really good. Lots of blood trails on there. So these things are really mean, but they've been really good. And there we go. We got Dean back now.
Oh man, we're just having all kinds of issues here, man. We need a real studio with some real Wi-Fi, right? Something going on.
Shoot, I know I'm not even that far out here, and I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on with this internet, dude.
Yeah.
But I was just running back through real quick while I was waiting on you in the middle. You dropped in the middle sentence, but real quick, I was just gonna finish going through this. But after I shot those there, I got the Slick Tricks, and then I went to the Muzzy MX3, the Trophy Takers I was showing off, ATAC, and the Shuttle T-Lock, and then now, like I said, the last couple times I've gone out, I've shot the Crafted Archery Arrow 1. But anyways, I was just going back through the list of all the broadheads I've shot over the different seasons and stuff over time.
Other thing I want to mention before we stop this, just to let everybody know if they haven't already, Cirrus Archery, if you're not sure what grain weight or what your arrow likes, it's a great investment. It's not expensive. I can't remember the actual cost, but they'll send you an assortment of broadhead field tips, anywhere from 100 field points, from like 100 to 200 grains, I think, and you can pop those dudes in and then fire them into some targets and figure out which, again, like I've said 4 or 5 times, find out what your arrow and your bow likes. So that's a kind of a cheap way to figure it out before you go dump a bunch of money in different grain broadheads, and your bow may not like them, or your arrow setup may not like them. But great investment. And then if you want, once you find out what that is, then you can go back on and buy their full set of I think it comes with 12 of whatever grain weight you want, and use them as your field points. So it's a good investment.
Does Epic Archery make their field tips? Yeah. Yep.
And then you can, I mean, if you want to stay with them.
These are the ones I use right here, though. Yeah, this is the one you gave me that back in the day, that massive 200 grain there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because I misordered those and I got a whole 24 200 grains. I picked the wrong box. So pay attention.
So just for comparison,
yeah, those things are nice.
This right here is my 125 grain one that I usually use, and this is that 200 grain. Man, that thing's a absolute beast.
Yeah, they're a beast. And I think Iron Will has a similar product as well. They're more of a ball tip, so they're easier to pull out. And I'll be reinvesting in new targets, since a buddy of mine said that foam is better than bags. So I'll have to get rid of my bag targets.
Yeah. So yeah, funny story. So with my arrows, I've been testing a bunch of different types of hot melt, and so we went out to Dean's house there, and he has a bunch of bag targets set up. It's actually a really cool little range set up with bag targets at different distances. And we were shooting out there, and I lost 2 of my inserts getting stuck in the bag target and trying to rip them out of there. And then the insert came out of there, and I was like, oh God, it's just a mess. I go back and forth between hot melt and using the glue though, because I'm worried with the glue that I'll damage my arrow shaft. And then it's like, I can't tune it once I put it in there. It's like you have to do all the tuning with it. Anyways, that's the balancing act.
Yeah. They have the Easton Arrows that came out. Their insert is got a locking screw in it. And that's pretty interesting. You put your insert in, it's a insert outsert deal. And you put your insert in, and then you put your locking screw in, then you put your broadhead in, but then you can spin your broadhead. And if you need to change it, you just unscrew the broadhead, turn your insert, and then re-engage your locking screw, which is kind of interesting.
I saw VIP Archery came out with those too. Or it's basically what it's like, grips the inside of the shaft, and when you tighten it in there, it kind of just pushes out against it and holds it in place.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And they said that what they do is they suggest having your bleeders, really, I guess your entire broadhead, to be the same as your fletchings. That they found that it flies better, right? So if you got a 4-fletch, make sure that your broadheads and your bleeders match up with your fletchings. And so that was another reason why they liked that interlocking system, because you can turn your broadhead according, so everything is uniform down the whole arrow, which I thought was kind of cool. And so I may try a couple of those, but I'm definitely going to try the new Cirrus Archery as well. They got a 4mm arrow out now too. So I want to try that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I almost bought some of those Orions recently, man. They look good. I want to try those. Kind of all at the same time. I was looking at, the Orions. I was looking at Crafted Archery, who, like I said, makes these the Broadheads. They make an arrow and a shaft now too. It's nothing fancy. It's just a carbon shaft, but just like a lot of people, they're preaching the .001 straightness on them, so that's good. And then the arrowed ARWD arrows too. I was looking at those as well, but there's so many good arrows out there, and like I say, it's hard to get in there and test them all. Were
you saying
right now I'm sticking with
you were saying too, the other thing, Lancaster Archery, you can get different a hodgepodge of arrows to try?
Yeah, so that's honestly, if you're doing all this testing yourself, that's probably one of the best ways to do it. Is you can go to Lancaster Archery, and you can actually get them, or you can order a single arrow of every type that they carry. At least they don't carry everything out there, but you can buy like a single arrow cut to what you want, and they'll already insert the insert for you and everything, or you can get it without the insert already glued in. But yeah, so that's really cool service, and it's a great way to test out like 5 or 6 different arrow brands at one time without really just breaking the bank. You're going to pay more, for that one arrow, obviously, than you would for buying or if you bought like a 6 or a dozen of those arrows individually, or sorry, with a bunch. You're going to pay more individually, but it's a great way to figure out which ones you like and why, and do some durability testing and stuff. I did that for like the very first video, or one of the first videos I did for this channel, where I was testing some arrows. I think it was actually whenever I tested the Victory Extortion arrows. I had a whole quiver full of arrows that I tested, and I showed that in the video.
And do you use collars, or you do a insert outsert type setup on your arrows?
Yeah, so I usually use the insert with a collar. That's a 2-piece insert outsert system, So I use the Ethics Archery right now. Anyways, like I say, I'm always testing new stuff, but right now I'm using the Ethics Archery inserts with the collar. I prefer the one that they've got where it's a aluminum insert and a stainless steel outsert, because it makes it easier. I did a video on this too about polishing the tips of them so they just like glide through everything. But I like doing that to those. And I feel like with the collar, the outside part being more durable on the stainless steel version. So I usually like to get those. But right now on my 235 spine VAP TKOs, I've got the aluminum outsert and the stainless steel insert, which I feel like doing that the other way around is more effective. But
that's what I've got on my day 6 as well. So, and then the ethics is just the insert, outsert one on my Apollos.
Yeah,
and those things are, I mean, that combo, man, really makes that arrow tough as shit, man. I mean, it's hard to break one of them dudes, man. Which is nice. This is really nice.
Yeah. So. I'd say I was tuning my bow one time and I accidentally I moved my nocking point. I was trying to test stuff out and I forgot to adjust my aiming point after I moved my nocking point. And I ended up just drilling my toolbox with one of those arrows. And I swear it punched through the steel though. And on the other side, everything's fine. I was like, okay, I just slid it back out. And then it had deformed the steel enough that I couldn't get it, just pull it back out. So again, thankfully, this is why I use hot melt. I was able to put a lighter on it and then just pull the insert out, pull the arrow out the other side, and then put them back together with the hot melt. So
yeah, there's something to it, man. There's something to it.
I think we've all.
Yeah,
our buddy Chris just did something similar, and I was wasn't too happy about that.
Apparently, it goes through tile too. If you're trying to see if you're bow tuning, maybe have somebody else watch you do it, not do it in the bathroom mirror. So we got to have him on. He's got to tell that story live because that is some funny stuff, man.
Yeah, I'll make that the thumbnail. And whenever he comes on, is the hole that was in the bathroom.
100%. Got to. Is there anybody else chiming in? Any other questions we can answer for anybody out there? We've been kind of rambling on.
Somebody said VPA has one that grips inside. I don't know who VPA is. I know VIP is one of them. They make some broadheads and stuff too. It's probably might be another company that does it out there. Unlike the Bowmar Archery, apparently that's not something that everybody decides to patent on. So,
but, right. Unless it's a little guy.
Yeah, right. Get him.
Yeah, right. Jesus. Okay. Get some. They need to get outside more, man.
So,
this is what they're worried about. Unbelievable.
Man, the thing that bugs me about that is like, say what you will about Josh Bomar and Sarah Bomar, and they've just kind of been surrounded by controversy with like the Under Armour thing where she lost her Under Armour sponsorship and they're like illegally baiting bears, I think is what one person said. Then there's the, illegal baiting, and then there was a poaching incident with the Bomars, and then, I think there's some other stuff, but then now here they are punching down on a little guy. And I mean, listen, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because apparently in U.S. patent law, if you don't enforce a patent that you've got, then you can actually lose it or it'll be considered like null and void. But I mean, for something like a nose button, like, do you really think you needed to patent that? I mean, the idea of getting a patent on something like that is really, I would think, just to keep other people out of the market. So then you can be like, it's because it's so simple. And people have been doing this for decades with pieces of string and like little brass, knocking points on there to touch their nose and a bunch of different other things, and I mean, like I say, I saw the Bomar Archery nose button. I tested it and I was like, look, this is a pretty cool idea and everything. But I was like, it needs a lot of work because, man, it was like rubbing the tip of my nose and it like would slide on my string. I was like, this thing needs some work. And so that's what I tried to do is set out and kind of make something that was a competitor to it, but more so just made improvements on it, and it's really originally I just made it for myself. But I made a video about it, and a lot of people are saying, like, dude, I would buy that. Like, let me buy some. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I'll sell them online. So made a little website, started selling them online. And then here we go. About a year later, I said, I get this letter in the mail. It says, cease and desist because you're infringing upon this copyright. And, it was just kind of wild for me. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Like, so right now, just an update to everybody. Like I say, the nose buttons are off the site. The site is back up online. So if you want to support the channel, go buy some of the anchor rings. Go look at those 4 or 5 videos. And I got some cameras, some Gopro camera mounts. So if you're going to go out to Total Archery Challenge, I made some magnetic Gopro mounts. And as far as I know yet, none of that stuff's been patented. You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
Get another lawsuit from somebody else. So.
Right. Is GoPro listening? Just erase that last comment.
I'm just like, okay, like, yeah. My point at this point, like, I haven't made any real money on them. Like, it's kind of been when it talk about the 3D printers and the resin and all this stuff, I've kind of broke even on it more or less. I haven't made any money on it. So it's not like they can sue me for a whole bunch of money and stuff. You know, that's, I guess, the bright side of it. But, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. What are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do?
I'd like, you know, that'd be awesome. I'd like to have Josh Bomar on the chat here and, you know, say, hey, what's up, man?
We should reach out to him, man. I'll reach out to him and invite him on to be a guest. It'd be fun, you know. No animosity, you know. Just come on and shoot the shit for a little bit.
Yeah, no, man.
You know, it's all good.
No, I probably would better let this figure out what's going on with this lawsuit first, or it's not a lawsuit yet. Technically, it was a cease and desist. So I'll cease and I'll desist at least for a minute until I can prove somehow or another. I'm in touch with a patent lawyer, just getting some free advice to see, you know, if I have any, you know, room to do anything about it, or if I should just drop it. So far, it looks like it's just going to be like just drop it, stop making them, move on kind of thing. Maybe try again in a few years or something. I don't know. Gotcha. Or either that, or one guy suggested just don't call it a nose button, call it a, what do you call it? Some kind of weird technical thing that didn't mean basically a nose button, but didn't say nose button.
It's a booger picker, archery booger picker, man.
Yeah, there you go. Call it a booger button.
A booger button, yeah. Oh, it's funny shit, man. Good stuff.
Oh man.
Well,
all right, Dean. Well, it's been a blast, man. Everybody, thanks for chatting in over here in the chat. Like I said, good to hear you guys chiming in and seeing what you think. And we're having fun doing this. It's a great way to bring you guys some content, some video stuff, and just have a chat, you know, whenever we're on the road or I'm on the road here or traveling for work. So I haven't been able to have time to really go through and edit videos and do all this stuff. And I'll probably be that way for a few more weeks. And then I'm going to take some vacation time. I got some time this weekend where I might have a little bit of time to edit some videos and stuff. So we'll see more coming pretty soon. Stay tuned. And again, like I say, this is kind of an official, unofficial sponsor of this video, Tooth of the Arrow. We're going to be testing their broadheads here coming soon. They sent these to me as a test pack to test out. And I'm actually really excited about them because I've heard a lot of good things. They fly really well. And I think Dan from Elkshape just got his test pack too, because he just like literally as soon as mine arrived in the mail, he was putting a video out about them. So anyways.
So once you put that up,
guys, he did a different one. I think he did the vintage.
And if you guys are interested and you're on Go Wild, you can look at that and there's a discount code on Go Wild if you want to follow me on that. And if you're interested, like I said, if you want to go buy you a set and try them out yourself.
Yep.
Go. Good stuff, buddy.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Have a good one, Dean. And everybody, check you guys later. And as always, keep defying the odds.
Peace.